Welcome to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages, with your host, Matthew Shipp. This is the podcast for all of those who are involved in the agriculture all the way to the distribution of beverages. And now your host, Matthew Shipp.
Hello and welcome to Harvest to Pour. I'm your host, Matthew Shipp, and today I am here with Dan Saettele, owner and CEO of Foeder Crafters. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Great. So let's start a little bit. Tell us about yourself and where you are now with the Foeder Crafters.
Yeah, so I've owned Foeder Crafters for 5 years. I came out of a completely different industry, fell in love with this place, and wanted to kind of do it full time. And here I am 5 years later running a woodworking shop. Never thought I'd be doing that.
A woodworking shop. So before we get too deep into this, so you bought this company and such. I'm really curious if you could. This may be the first time anybody has ever heard of a foeder, and it's even spelled differently, Foeder. So it looks like foeder, but it's pronounced foeder. So give us a quick definition of what a foeder is and what it's used for.
Yeah, so a foeder is basically a big oak vat or big wooden vat. It's how all beverages were made before the Industrial Revolution when stainless steel came along. Think of a barrel, except on a much larger scale. We go anywhere. We start our smallest one's about 5 times the size of a barrel, and we go all the way up to swimming pool size.
Oh wow! And they're made out of.
Ours are made out of Missouri white oak.
Okay. And so is there anything else that you typically use for, is it just general fermenting or is it aging or what's the?
Both. It just depends what product you're making. But we have customers who ferment in them. We have customers who blend in them. We have customers who age in them, souring beers, all kinds of stuff. We have use cases that we didn't even know existed until somebody calls us up and we're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, neat. Okay. So what really, so you said you purchased Foeder Crafters, you bought the business. So what motivated you to buy it? And, what were your biggest concerns and surprises kind of making that transition into this industry?
Sure. It was a kind of a wild change. It was beginning of COVID, wild time. But so I was a banker in my prior life. And this was one of my customers at the bank. And then the first time I came into the building, I just fell in love with the place. The product is amazing. It's beautiful to look at. It smells incredible in the shop. I did woodworking as a hobby, kind of on the smaller scale. Okay. Loved beer, all this stuff. The owner at that time, the guy who founded Foeder Crafters, has this electric personality and just kind of brought me in. And I found myself spending way too much time here. Then COVID came. He was ready to do something different. I was ready to get out of the bank. And so, I raised my hand when he said that and said, let's make this happen. Bought the place right at 5 years ago.
All right. So what did you...
I would say, operationally, that was like the busiest we had ever been. So, they pretty much had the process of making our product down pretty well. But I am well aware of the problems that came prior to me buying it that were worked through. And we still had a few when I bought it. But the biggest one was our supply chain. It's pretty, in a couple areas, it's tough. The big one is wood. We have a very specific species. It has to be cut a certain way. Basically, you can't just go buy off the shelf oak and make a foeder out of it. It's not going to work well. But they had that figured out a couple of years before I bought the place. When I came, it was the smaller things like manways and, what do we fabricate in-house where we send out somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We were bringing in manways from France or Italy, I guess. And, sometimes they have to be reworked. Like, how do we work with that? So there was some of that kind of process that we had to figure out. But that was pretty easy. That's the stuff I'm good at, I think. The biggest change for me was being a manager and dealing with the people side of the business because I had never done that before. Mm-hmm. That was, managing a shop with at that time 10 guys working in the back. Everybody's, working long days. It's hard work. There's attitudes. There's all kinds of stuff. That was all new to me. That was,
Okay.
I mean, it was fun. I like all the guys, but it was a definite change.
So did you have to adapt your expectations coming into it a little bit?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, part of that was that when I was in due diligence, COVID didn't exist. And then when I bought the place, we had to have the shop kind of cut up into spaces, everybody not around other people. Our customers were dealing with their own problems. There were supply chain problems, all that stuff. So all the plans I had going into it kind of got scrapped, and I just had to kind of start from scratch.
Okay. So did they get scrapped or just set aside? Have you got to a place where you're kind of returning to that?
Some of them got permanently scrapped.
Okay.
And some of them did just get set to the side and brought back, a year or two later. Like things like I was going to hire a salesman like the first month I bought the place. Well, salesmen can't just go knock on doors in the middle of COVID. No one's going to let them in. So we put that on hold, that kind of stuff. But then when stuff started to open back up, we picked that up and kind of moved on.
Okay. All right. And so we talked about some of the other changes you made. What were your kind of the most significant changes to, like you said, a supply chain and some other things? And also just the process of getting the fooders finished and stuff. So what were some of the major changes you made?
So the biggest one was wood. They had the supplier figured out before I bought the business, but we still just didn't have enough. And so injecting a bunch of cash. See, with our product, we have to buy our raw material 2 years plus in advance, which is huge pain and a lot of capital. And it took not only the cash, but having the right partner to trust us that, hey, we're going to be around in 2 years to take delivery of it. This is what we think our sales are going to be, and kind of lay it all out and have a really good relationship with that guy. So that was the first thing we dealt with. It took about a year to get us up to the level of inventory we needed. Luckily, we had already had the right guy, so we didn't have to totally start from scratch. It was just kind of building on what we had.
Okay. So
internal processes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Internal process. Go ahead.
Internal processes. The shop was kind of laid out a little funny. Nothing that really hampered us too much, but definitely a few months in, like when we hit a slow time for a couple of weeks, I'm like, okay, this is the time to do it. We're going to move stuff around. And we just kind of laid stuff out so that, it comes in one door, our raw material does, and then it just laid out around the shop like a circle, the same way our product is built. So then it goes to another door and it's ready to leave. And once we got it all moved around the right way, everything flowed a lot better. People weren't tripping over each other. It was so much nicer.
So what did that look like, kind of balancing that? Was it just you standing back and saying we need to move things, or was it talking with the team and getting some of their suggestions?
I was definitely talking with the team, a lot of them.
Okay.
I asked the question, I'm like, why is this saw over here? And somebody would be like, oh, I'm so glad you asked. I've been trying to get this moved for years. And like, okay, tell me where you think it should be. And then we would draw out a plan. And then I'd say, well, if it needs to be over there, what does that guy in his area think about that? And so we ended up, I'd go to each guy and then we'd all sit together, I'd say all of us, there was 10 of us in the shop. It wasn't a big deal. We'd sit in the morning meeting. What if we move things around this way? What are the problems I'm not thinking of? How would this work for everybody? And I get kind of everybody's buy-in. And it took a few months to get everything worked out, but it flowed a lot better.
Okay, cool. Talk a little bit about there were some new innovations that you showed me with the crafting of the fooders that you make versus the ones that were made in Europe. And I guess most of that was already set. Have you done any more to advance the innovation of these fooders since you've owned the company?
Yeah, there's not a single piece except that joint that I had showed you that hasn't been touched. We've tried to look at every single thing.
Okay.
The innovation of the joint that's the biggest one. So for the listeners, a whiskey barrel is put together in the sides of a stave. The wood is just flat. It's just held together with tension, and you just pray it doesn't leak, and it always does. Mm-hmm. Ours actually has fingers that lock into each other and makes it way more stable, way more airtight and watertight, and we basically have near zero problems with them. And that was innovated because Matt Walters, the guy who started Foeder Crafters, had no experience. He was just he was an innovator, an inventor. He just liked making new stuff, and he's just like, well, if I had to make a foeder, this is how I would do it, and he did. But there is not another single piece of the foeder that we haven't identified. I mean, even the past 2 weeks, we've started changing a little thing on our welds. It's been from, we've gotten a new cooling plate supplier that are just much more robust, work a lot better, have better flow, all that. Lumber suppliers for our stands. We've changed glue suppliers. We've changed silicone suppliers. Like kind of over the past 5 years, we've tried to just take one at a time and see what's wrong with this piece. We've gotten new jigs in the shop. We've gotten all kinds of stuff. But I think we're really kind of now in the past year, we're so honed in on every little piece that I'm confident our foeders will last way longer than me.
So it's really true that you can have a continuous improvement mentality when it comes to foeders. Okay.
Yeah. No, I told the guys when I bought this place, nothing is sacred. We don't do things because that's the way we've always done it. I mean, the whole reason we are here is because we innovated. There's no reason to stop at that. We got to keep pushing ourselves and figure out how to make the best product. And the guys really took that to heart, and they have no problem coming to me and telling me when something's not working. And then we talk to our customers too. We say what's wrong, or they'll call us, if there's a leak or something like that. And we use that information to kind of figure out how to have continuous improvement in our product.
Okay. And now a word from our sponsors. If you're serious about building a smarter beverage business, you need to know about Debbie Wildrick Consulting. Debbie brings decades of real-world experience from managing 7-Eleven's $4 billion beverage portfolio to guiding startups at mid-stage brands through the scaling process. At Debbie Wildrick Consulting, you'll get practical insights from fixing margin leaks to building the right sales team. Debbie helps brands like yours make smarter moves at a critical stage of growth. Whether you're just getting traction or hitting new roadblocks in your business's growth, Debbie Wildrick Consulting brings clarity to the process and helps you grow the smart way. Visit DebbieWildrick.com to learn more. Make your next move your smartest one with Debbie Wildrick Consulting. Hey, are you spinning your wheels trying to figure out what will really boost your business's bottom line? At Emberry Solutions, our Profit Priority Workshop is here to cut through the noise. We help you zero in on what truly matters, aligning your team, optimizing your processes, and magnifying your profits. Imagine your business running smoother than ever, with every decision and effort leading straight to increased profits. That's what focusing on the right priorities can do. Ready to boost your efficiency and profits? Visit Emberry Solutions and let's start making your business work smarter. At Emberry Solutions, we take your business from bottlenecks to breakthroughs. So this is a great segue on moving into kind of the market piece of how you let people know you're out there. You have this product and they might need it. And this is kind of unique. We were talking about, we had to explain initially, what a foeder is. And I believe you are the only one in the nation making these.
Yeah, at scale. I mean, there's some people
Okay.
who have made one or two here and there, but we're the only shop that does it full time.
That's amazing. So I bet you have a lot of potential customers that don't even know they need a foeder.
Yeah.
So who is that person and what needs are they looking to fulfill that you can help them when it comes to needing a foeder?
Yeah, so one would be the producer who doesn't have any wood program at all right now.
Okay.
If you think the flavor profile of your product that you're making would work well with oak, I mean, think about a whiskey or something like that. That's the kind of flavors that you're going to get out of the oak. So whether it be an RTD or even a cannabis drink, like those kind of things, some of the flavors would work really well, then you should think about getting a foeder. The other group are people that work with barrels right now. Barrels are a huge pain. They leak, they don't store a lot, you have to blend them, all the stuff. They're a big pain point, and that's a lot of the reasons why our customers come to us in the first place is because they have a barrel program and they're sick of using barrels.
Okay. Is this typically a beer and wine that are coming to you?
Our customer base is about 50% breweries nowadays, about 40%, probably 50 breweries, 30% distilleries, 10% wine, and then the rest just random other little things.
People want to experiment. As you said, there's a lot of different uses you've discovered just by being out there with it.
Right. Anything from a sauerkraut, maker to somebody fermenting soy sauce or all kinds of stuff. But
that is cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That's hey, even more. That's really neat.
Yeah.
And then, so how do you educate new markets about the value of your product then?
Well, so we have a salesman who lives in the East Coast, and he goes to a lot of state conventions, that kind of thing. He does educational seminars at some of them, but really it's just word of mouth. I mean, especially in the brewing world, and the wine and distilling is the same to a lesser extent, but everybody knows each other. So, if your buddy has a foeder, you're going to know about it. They're going to say, hey, come look at this thing that I got. And then you see it.
Okay.
Oh, wow. But word spreads fast in these groups. So
all right.
that's
so,
how,
and you said you mentioned attending some industry shows and stuff. What if you picked up about the industry itself, whether it be just the industry, the beverage industry, or their knowledge of foeders and how that's changed and affected the way you do business?
That's a good question. We find that a lot of people have misconceptions about American oak. That's probably our biggest thing that we try to get over, especially in the wine industry. A lot of people are tied to European oak species because of the different flavors, and we have to educate them. It's not always going to taste, the way you don't want it. It's not going to taste buttery and all this stuff. Like, you can make this work or develop your product around it. That's probably the biggest thing. First, the thing we try to teach them is how to take care of them. A lot of them are intimidated on how to take care of it versus stainless steel, and that's kind of a hurdle. Those are the two main things I'd say.
I'm curious I know most people, this all came up with English oak and stuff in France and Belgium, and that's kind of basically how they made their wines in these big things.
Right.
What is the misconception around American white oak?
Well, it's not necessarily the misconception as it is. They think they're not going to like the flavors they've never tried American oak.
Okay.
They have only tried European oak and they like the spicy flavors, and they think, oh, this is not going to work well with what my product is. Like, well, have you ever tried it? They usually say no. And then when you send them samples of staves or whatever, and they, put some stave chunks in some wine for a few months, they're like, oh, it actually turned out way better than I thought.
Okay.
It also happens a lot with ciders. A lot of people don't like ciders with oak. And then when they actually try it, they're like, oh, it actually works pretty well.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's good. I thought it'd be a good one to share with everybody. Since you've purchased this, you've got the processes going, you're continuously improving the foeders themselves and your manufacturing. You're starting to, really have that good understanding of who can use a foeder and why, and where, having said all that, where do you see yourself taking the business next?
Oh, we would love to get more into the wine industry.
Okay.
I think that's, our biggest goal is to grow the wine industry.
Okay.
The stigma of American oak has held us back a lot. And we only have probably a couple dozen, maybe 50 or somewhere around there, winery customers. And it's all producers that are making natural wine or some form of wine they're not trying to be
traditionalist.
How do I say it? They don't have the baggage of this is how the old world did it.
Okay.
We're going to try something new. They're innovative and they're willing to try it and they all love it. We would love to keep spreading that message and get more people in that industry.
Okay. Yeah, I think we talked about just that piece of those winemakers. We even talked about an innovative winemaker in our area. It was like, I think I interviewed them in my episode 2, and it was Noble Ice, and just they're always changing and always adapting. And so does that seem to be just finding that as an ideal winemaker client for you is what you're kind of after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Those are the people, the wineries that we find really are not afraid of trying our product, and they always end up loving it.
I was going to ask you what impact you want to make on the community, but I was actually want to ask you what communities globally are you impacting?
I mean, I'd say we impact, every community we send a foeder to. It's not lost on us when we send a foeder out somewhere, the customers that walk into that tap room and see it, they always instantly their eyes go to it, and they're like, I want to try what's in there. What is that? And I think watching people drink the beers that came out of our foeder, or the wines or the whiskey or whatever that came out of our foeder, that's what like pulls on our heartstrings. Like, we had a piece of that. That's so cool.
Okay.
And being part of the places where people gather and having a good time and sharing time with their loved ones, at a brewery or producer, like, that's awesome. That's what it's all about.
You mentioned that I think it was Japanese culture is starting to kind of adopt the use of a foeder and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we have been shipping more and more, not just Japan, but right now we're making 2 that are going to Korea. The beer industry, to me, being an outsider, it seems like the American beer industry, the craft brewing industry, was 10 years ago, and they're growing at an incredible rate. The people love it, and they're kind of looking to the U.S. craft beer industry to model themselves after. Hopefully, good and bad. They see now, as that market has turned, how they can not totally follow in the footsteps, but we're getting a lot of requests from Asia right now.
Interesting. Okay. I thought it was very interesting you told me that, and I just like, where is that culture going that they're doing their own? Are they doing anything different, or are they just kind of really like the American craft industry?
It's, I haven't had any different styles of beer or anything from over there. All the ones I've had are similar, kind of modeled after the American styles, whether it be a Saison or IPA or lager. They have a tendency to just execute perfectly. Okay. I mean, much like Japanese whiskey, if you've had that, it's very good whiskey, and they just do a very good job. They're very meticulous about things. And I think our product fits in well with that mentality. It's authentic. It's high craftsmanship. Makes a great product. They love it.
Okay. And just based on that, is there any other trends in the beverage industry you've noticed, like I said, with the adoption of the foeders in Japan and Korea? Is there anything else that you've noticed industry wise?
Yeah, we've seen takeoff of sake in America. I'd say we kind of get a leading indicator. Our sales in the industry, a leading indicator of how that industry is actually going. We knew the beer industry was slowing down in America quite a bit, but that distilleries were picking up, and then we could see that plateau off and start to come down, and RTDs are coming up. We just kind of see all of those before the over-the-counter sales, make the headlines. But I'd say cannabis is the big thing that has changed all the beverage industries. It's taken a toll on all the alcohol, at least. Outside of alcohol, we don't really have too much exposure, so I can't speak to that so much.
Okay. And then just kind of, I want to hop back into real quick about, you're buying, what influenced you to buy, and that story. I just want to kind of close that story with, is there any advice you'd give to someone considering to buying a business within the beverage industry, especially one as niche as this one?
I'd say do a lot of industry research. I had looked, I was well aware of the beer industry, but I hadn't done much research into the other beverage industries. And I wish I would have, to kind of see if beer starts tapering off more, where are we going to go? What are we going to try to do? How hard is it going to be to get into those industries? I had plans on where I wanted to go, but I didn't really know the steps to get there. I wish I would have done more diligence on that.
Okay, great. Great answer. Okay, a couple more questions, and this one's kind of a fun one. We've been talking about these foeders and all the beverages that can be possibly made in them. Do you have a favorite beverage?
I do, but I'll admit it's not out of one of our foeders.
All right.
My favorite, well, the beverage I drink most is water. I drink tons of water all day long.
Okay.
But my favorite beverage is a beer called Jacobus from Schilling Beer Company in northern New Hampshire. They're one of our customers. They make fantastic beer. It's up near Canada in the middle of nowhere in this pretty little mountain town. They invited us up for Oktoberfest a few years ago. And I had this beer, and I'm like, this is amazing. It's a German Pilsner. It's fantastic. Okay. And then when I left, we can't get it here in St. Louis. And I was wondering, was it really that good? Or was it just that I'm sitting in this beautiful brewery on the side of this idyllic river running through the middle of a little town? It was beautiful weather, all this stuff. It wasn't really that good. And then recently I was in Memphis, and they had it on the shelf at this liquor store, and I got some, and I'm like, oh, it really was that good. It's just a fantastic beer.
That's cool. Yeah.
So that's number one.
But you're right. Environment can play on your influence of what you're having and why you're having it. So totally. But yeah, that's
where
good
a lot
to know.
of our sales come from. Is it makes the tap room just the aesthetics of it.
You're right.
Makes it homey, and people want to drink and have a good time and all that.
Yeah, we really haven't talked about how these things look. They are just like this piece of white, just unfinished. Well, not unfinished, but they're sanded down, nice looking. Oak barrels, and it can be 6 foot, 7 foot tall.
Oh yeah, even higher. We've done them up to 12 feet tall.
Yeah, and they do. Your eye goes straight to them. It's this mix of wood and the shiny, the metal, what are the bands that go around them? Yeah, it's just your eye goes directly to what is that thing? And amongst all that steel, when you go to somebody's brewer and stuff, so they do stand out. They are almost a discussion starter. Yeah. So. That is really neat, yeah. And that's the one thing I come up to is if you want to know what they look like. Dan, do you have any upcoming events or promotions, or where can people go to learn more about these foeders?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our sales guy, who's based on the East Coast, goes to kind of all the big state guilds, that kind of thing, beer festivals. He'll be in Florida at the State Brewers Guild convention in a couple weeks here. He goes to Snallygaster, the big beer festival. He's kind of up and down the East Coast with all the things. We also go to CBC, Craft Brewers Conference, ADI, American Craft Spirits Association, all the big shows. So you can see us at any of those. If you see someone with Foeder Crafters shirt, stop us and we'll buy a beer.
All right, I'll hold you to that. So no, and another thing we didn't mention as well, as I always thought was interesting, as far as delivery, you're kind of equidistant. So we're in the middle of the country here in Missouri, where they're made, and so as far as shipping in the U.S., you're pretty good equidistant from everybody to getting it out to them. Yeah,
shipping is not as big of a problem as people expect it to be. We usually just crate them up and load them on an LTL truck, and they're there in a couple days. We're not far from anywhere, really.
Yeah,
that's where our wood is. We can't move here. This is where our wood is all Missouri white oak. So we'll always be right here in the middle of the country.
All right, excellent. Well, Dan, this has been a great interview. I really like learning about just what a foeder is, how people are using it, how old the tradition is of making these, and the fact that so few people know about them, and the fact that you're the only one making them at a full time at scale, and just hopefully this knowledge gets out to people who are like, hey, I think I need one of these in my pub or in my winery, and just to give that innovative start, because the innovation is more in this case is not only the way they're made, but within the oak you're using, breaking from that traditional like French oak and stuff. So I really hope this helps reach out and find some more people interested and inquire about these foeders. It's really pretty. I just encourage you to actually go down to their website, which will be in the show notes. I believe it's foedercrafters.com. Is that right?
It is. Yep, and we have Instagram too.
All right. So Dan, again, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate the time and learned a lot today.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages with Matthew Shipp. Check the show notes for our guest contact information and connect with Matthew Shipp on LinkedIn today.